How's it going, everybody? We are still working through all the early access videos. Like I mentioned last week already, on December 10th there will be a week-long testing round that is available to everyone to test and give feedback on potential changes to Warden, Peacekeeper, Shugoki and Nobushi. The early access this time already had these changes included, so I can give you a detailed overview and my thoughts on all of them. But please make up your own mind by testing those heroes. I'm going to split them into two videos, the Knights and the Samurai. And because the Vikings would feel a little left out, we are just going to use them as our sponsor today. Viking Jewelry was kind enough to sponsor another video. It's only a little over 2 weeks until Christmas. It's about time to at least start your Christmas shopping. So let me present you with this opportunity today. High quality jewelry in Viking designs, arm rings, bracelets, pendants, earrings and much more. As usual, I do have two codes for you to use. First one gives you 35% off on all pendants. That one's good for the next 48 hours, so don't miss out here. And if something else in the shop caught your eye, you can use Freeze20 to get a 20% discount on the rest of the shop. Yes, everything in the shop. That code is viable for the next 10 days, so even if you're someone that buys their presents late, that is your chance. Links will be in the video description. If you use them, the code will be applied automatically at the checkout, so you don't even have to worry about that anymore. Go check out their shop, there's lots to discover. But let's move on to the changes. Like I said, the Knights first, and it shouldn't come as a surprise that the heroes of that faction have received some major buffs. Something Knight bias, cue the joke and the love track. Let's get straight to it though. Warden first, as he's probably the most picked hero in the entire game, and it's not really all that surprising to see him get changes. Summed up, it is one nerf and then tons and tons of compensation buffs. It is something that we don't necessarily see all that often. Sometimes the character is absolutely gutted, and the next time a single nerf is accompanied with 10 buffs. Warden falls in the latter category. The one nerf was to his shoulder bash. You can no longer initiate the move from a back dodge. This was by far his strongest defensive tool and allowed him to be the one hero with somewhat of a footsies game. Then the changes to the feint movement. The character now only moves half a meter. To be totally fair, this change probably came because of the complaints in the community. I can understand that it was a little bit confusing, but if you timed your dodges on Warden forward movement, then you did something wrong anyways. This is not a change that now somehow makes this mix-up reactable. You still have to make the read. You can see the side-by-side view here. The change is not really all that drastic. Then the big major buff. Every single attack now chains into shoulder bash. Every light, every heavy, the zone, the running attack, all of them. Finishes, openers, doesn't matter. He threw you on the ground from an out of stamina punish, right back into the mixer while you have no stamina. This will take some getting used to, at least for me it did. It took me like 30 rounds to fully embrace the fact that I can't chain into it from heavies now. And remember what I told you about interruptible mix-ups and that you can't charge on Warden without being interrupted? Yeah, no longer the case. Neutral top heavy as well as both finisher heavies have heavy hit stun, which allows Warden to fully charge his shoulder bash without giving the opponent the chance to interrupt him. I am personally not a fan of heavy hit stun, especially on non-finishers, so I am hoping that Ubisoft would tinker with the chain link between heavy and shoulder bash instead of relying on the substantial hit stun. It is also debatable whether Warden truly needs this on his finishes as well as neutral top heavy, aka after a light parry. Feel free to make your arguments here. And then another thing, the side heavy finishes are also unblockable now. They also got sped up by 100 ms. Because the neutral top heavy for whatever reason has heavy hit stun, the follow-up side heavy is not dodgeable. You can only parry it to avoid it. We did have a few instances where dodging to the right on top finisher would be dodgeable, but not consistently. So maybe there is a 1 frame dodge window. I can't say it's 100% undodgeable just yet. I'm pretty sure this is an oversight on Ubisoft's part anyways, and expect this to get fixed. Neutral top heavy should have medium hit stun if you ask me. But that plays into the shoulder bash thing again, so yeah. whatever. The top heavy got a similar treatment. It's 900 ms now, meaning it's faster by 100 ms. To be fair, I didn't really notice this at all when fighting him. Probably a good thing, meaning the animation's still looking good. Then the neutral side heavies have had their trajectories flattened and the range increased. We usually just say their hitbox got improved. I probably should get into the habit of using the same terms as Ubisoft here to also make it easier for people that read the patch notes. In layman's terms, you're going to hit people to your sides more often. Same goes for their heavy finishes. They also shorten the link time between lights and heavy finishes. This prevents lights from interrupting your unblockable. You know, not like John Hughes. Whether this is enough to make Warden a reliable Dominion pick now, I can't tell just yet. We need way more games to assess that, so if you're someone that doesn't usually play duels with him, please pay close attention to that and let Ubisoft know whether this was enough or still doesn't quite cut it. Then the zone attack, more forward momentum, and the recovery reduced to 500 ms. We were able to chain after a zone for a while now, but if you didn't chain, the recovery wasn't the greatest. Now it's the second best of any zone in the game and can be chained. Only Lawbringer's recovery is better. But bringing the recoveries down, I'm always for it. To this degree, I don't know, this seems like one more overcompensation for the nerf. Might as well make it undodgeable now so it's a better warlord zone. Why not at this point? It is a knight after all. Then the most questionable change was to the damage, 35 for side heavy finisher and 34 for top heavy. First of all, the better hitbox attack shouldn't have higher damage. There should always be the trade-off between trajectory and damage. But even overall, the damage on the finisher heavies is too high, needs to come down significantly. Warden has no issues getting damage in, he doesn't need these absurdly high numbers. But while we're on the topic of damage, let's use this as a transition to PK. The age-old discussion about whether PK has low damage or not. I already explained to you why she really doesn't if you include the bleed values. But seems like Ubisoft caved and now made her probably the single most damaging hero in the game. We're looking at 38 damage GBs, 36 damage heavy finishes, you know, still less than Warden, but still. Instead of shifting damage from bleed to direct, Ubisoft decided to just flat out increase all heavy damage by 5. Normal heavies, finishes, dodge attacks, the whole lot. Well, let's just look at the other changes for now. PK gains enhanced lights against bleeding characters. That feature has been extended and she now gains the unblockable property on her heavy finishes if locked onto a bleeding target. Pay attention to the wording here. It's not against bleeding targets, it is when locked on to a bleeding target. This gives her quite some nice pressure even externally now, and the fact that hitting those heavies leads to more bleed lets her keep up that pressure for quite some time. It does feel really good, I can't lie, PK is scary now. But there are some changes that aren't immediately noticeable. Let's talk zone first. It's finally considered a heavy, is enhanced, and parrying it rewards the proper punish. The second part can also turn unblockable against bleeding targets. They have added additional soft feints as well. It's no longer just the dagger cancel. You can soft feint into GB and dodge now. The overall feint timing did shift though, and while I can see what they were going for here, it does feel a little off. Previously, PK would simply cancel the second part of the zone, meaning she wouldn't even start it. Now you start the second attack and feint it according to the usual rules. Especially when unblockable, this should make the feint more believable and harder to defend against. But it also feels incredibly clunky when playing her. This might just come from the fact that we're all so used to the old feint timing and it might go away over time, but you do feel anchored in place. You can't just quickly punish something with a zone and then disengage. Now you're going to be rooted in place and have to throw parts of the second attack. I personally dislike it, but this is a very subjective thing, so form your own opinion. If you've played PK before, you will be able to tell the difference immediately. Next, the deflect input. I've given you my opinion on that one already. For short, I don't think deflect and dodge attack input should be the same. These two things should be separated. Random dodge attacks shouldn't be rewarded with deflects. I don't see any reason for this change, just leave it as it were. Then the dagger cancel soft feint. They introduced a dodge cancel at 333 ms into its recovery. Personally, not a fan of it. I would have preferred if they gave it frame advantage. Enough to throw light, but not enough to go for another dagger cancel. Maybe it might feel like it's always PK's turn then, I get that, but it just feels terrible that you can't actually start your offense after having applied the bleed. The very thing that allows you to access a significant part of your kit. Once again, it just feels clunky, but talking about clunky, I want to mention the recovery on her dodge attacks on whiff. Unlike many other heroes, her dodge attack is a stab, doesn't have a general trajectory / hitbox, we're getting there with the terms. And she also cannot chain into anything on whiff or block. Especially when target swapping, particularly the side dodge one just feels terrible. Misjudging the distance is quite a fun killer, because then you're stuck in recovery. 900 for GB, 1000 for your guard swap, and another 900 ms for dodging. You feel absolutely helpless. Those recoveries, especially to block and GB, need to come down to something like 600 or 700. I mean, UB has been quite generous with Warden Zone, so I don't see a reason why PK should be excluded here. This obviously hinges on the damage. PK's damage needs another look and needs to come down. People will appreciate the extra direct damage, but I think it should have come out of her bleed portion. Now she just feels overtuned, especially the guard break punish. I'd love if her kit as a whole, meaning recoveries, recovery cancels, frame advantage, possibly even more chains, took priority over her damage. But let's wrap this up. Both knight heroes have gotten quite some improvements. Warden got compensated more than generously, and Peacekeeper, while still having some glaring issues in my opinion, is also quite a bit stronger now. Yet, damage on both heroes needs to come down. The fact that Peacekeeper and Nobushi rely so heavily on bleed, and this testing grounds coincides with the release of a hero with 3 AoE heal feats, might skew your perspective a little. I'm sure Ubisoft will send out a survey asking for your input, so keep an eye out for that, and keep in mind on the what circumstances you're going to test these 3 heroes. But yeah, having said all that, wait, don't forget our sponsor. All Viking Jewelry links are down in the description. I hope the video was helpful. Thanks for watching. Latest everybody.